A mother shared her 8-year-old cancer patient's love for colorful balloons on Steve Harvey's show. His simple call to action created a miracle that brought hundreds to the hospital garden and proved that sometimes the smallest gestures can create the biggest moments of joy, and that community compassion can turn a child's simple wish into an unforgettable celebration of hope. It was a quiet Wednesday afternoon in April 2024, and Steve Harvey was preparing for what seemed like a routine episode of his talk show when he met Sarah Thompson, a mother whose story would touch his heart and inspire thousands of people to come together for one remarkable act of kindness. Sarah had been invited to the show to share her family's journey with childhood cancer, specifically her 8-year-old daughter Emma's battle with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. As Sarah sat across from Steve in the familiar setting of his television studio, her strength and grace were immediately apparent. But so was the weight of the burden she had been carrying for the past 18 months since Emma's diagnosis. "Sarah, tell our audience about Emma," Steve said gently, recognizing the mix of love and exhaustion in this mother's eyes. "Emma is the most amazing little girl," Sarah began, her voice filled with both pride and emotion. "She's been fighting leukemia for a year and a half now, and through everything, the chemotherapy, the hospital stays, the days when she's too sick to get out of bed, she has maintained this incredible spirit and joy that inspires everyone who meets her." Steve leaned forward, giving Sarah his full attention. "What keeps Emma going during the difficult times?" Sarah smiled for the first time since sitting down. "Balloons. It sounds so simple, but Emma absolutely loves colorful balloons. When she was first diagnosed, and we spent weeks in the hospital, I brought her a small bouquet of balloons to brighten up her room. Her face lit up in a way I hadn't seen since before she got sick." "Tell me more about Emma and her balloons." "Every time Emma has a treatment or procedure, she asks if she can have balloons afterward. Not toys or candy or anything expensive, just colorful balloons. She says they make her feel like she's floating above all the scary medical stuff. She loves watching them bob around her hospital room and says they remind her that beautiful things can still happen even when everything else feels heavy." Steve felt his heart tighten as he listened to Sarah describe her daughter's simple joy in the midst of such a serious battle. During her worst days, when the chemotherapy makes her so sick she can barely lift her head, Emma will look at her balloons and smile. She's created this whole story about how each balloon carries wishes and hopes up to the sky, and that someday all those wishes will come back down as good things happening in the world. "How is Emma doing with her treatment now?" Sarah's expression became more serious. "She's been in the hospital for the past 3 weeks. This round of chemotherapy has been particularly difficult, and the doctors are watching her very carefully. She's weak and scared, and for the first time since her diagnosis, I've seen moments where she seems to be losing hope. What does Emma need right now? She needs to remember that there's still beauty and joy in the world beyond the hospital walls. She needs to know that people care about her and that her fight matters to more than just our family." Steve was quiet for a moment, processing Sarah's words and thinking about 8-year-old Emma lying in a hospital bed, finding comfort in colorful balloons while fighting for her life. "Sarah, what hospital is Emma at?" "Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. She's on the pediatric oncology floor." Steve made a decision that would create one of the most beautiful community responses his show had ever inspired. "Sarah, I want to ask our audience and our viewers for something. Emma loves balloons, and she believes they carry wishes and hopes. I think Emma needs to see just how many people are sending their wishes and hopes her way." Steve turned to face the camera directly, speaking with the sincerity and passion that had made him beloved by millions of viewers. "Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you about Emma Thompson, an 8-year-old girl who is fighting cancer with incredible courage. Her mother just told us that Emma finds joy and hope in something as simple as colorful balloons. This little girl believes that balloons carry wishes up to the sky. Steve paused, letting his words sink in. I have an idea, and I need your help to make it happen. This Saturday, at 2 p.m., I want anyone who can make it to come to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta with balloons. Colorful balloons of every size and shape. I want us to gather in the hospital garden where Emma can see us from her window, and I want us to release those balloons together, sending our wishes and hopes for Emma's recovery up to the sky. The studio audience immediately began applauding, moved by the simple but powerful gesture Steve was proposing. I know Saturday is short notice, and I know not everyone can make it to Atlanta, but if you can be there, if you can bring a balloon and be part of showing Emma that she has an army of people cheering for her, please come. Let's show this brave little girl that her fight matters to all of us. Sarah was crying as she listened to Steve's appeal. Mr. Harvey, you don't understand what this would mean to Emma. She's always believed that balloons carry special messages, and to know that hundreds of people were sending their hopes for her recovery, it would give her strength she doesn't even know she needs. The show aired on Thursday, giving viewers only 2 days to respond to Steve's call for action. Steve himself wasn't sure what to expect, but he underestimated the power of his audience's compassion and their desire to help a child in need. Saturday arrived bright and clear, and Steve made the drive from his home in Atlanta to Children's Healthcare, hoping that maybe 50 or 100 people would show up to support Emma. What he found when he arrived at the hospital completely took his breath away. The hospital garden and surrounding grounds were filled with hundreds of people of all ages, each carrying colorful balloons. Families with children, elderly couples, teenagers, healthcare workers from other shifts who had come on their day off, local business owners who had closed early to participate. The response was overwhelming and beautiful. Steve estimated that over 400 people had gathered, creating a sea of red, blue, yellow, green, purple, orange, and pink balloons that bobbed and swayed in the gentle spring breeze. I can't believe this many people came, Steve said to Sarah, who had brought him up to Emma's hospital room so the little girl could see the gathering from her window. 8-year-old Emma was weak from her recent treatments, but when she looked out her hospital window and saw the massive crowd of people with balloons, her eyes widened with wonder and disbelief. Mommy, are all those people here for me? Emma asked in a small voice. Yes, sweetheart. Mr. Harvey asked people to come and send their wishes for you to get better. And look how many people came. Emma pressed her face to the window, taking in the incredible sight of hundreds of strangers who had given up their Saturday to bring her joy. There are so many balloons, Mommy, so many wishes. Steve knelt down beside Emma's hospital bed. Emma, I'm Steve Harvey, and I want you to know that every single person down there brought a balloon with a special wish for you to get strong and healthy. Are they really all for me? Every single one. And in a few minutes, we're all going to release our balloons at the same time, and all those wishes are going to float up to the sky together. Emma looked out the window again, counting balloons and pointing out her favorite colors to Steve and her mother. The purple ones are my favorite, but I love the rainbow ones too. And look, someone brought heart-shaped balloons. At exactly 2:15 p.m., Steve gave the signal from Emma's window, and the most beautiful thing happened. 400 people, standing in a hospital garden, released their balloons simultaneously, creating a stunning cloud of color that rose slowly into the clear blue sky. Emma watched from her window, tears streaming down her face, as hundreds of balloons, carrying hopes and prayers for her recovery, drifted upward together. They're so beautiful, Emma whispered. Look how they're all flying together, like they're friends. The crowd below remained in the garden, waving up at Emma's window and holding signs that read, "We love you, Emma. Keep fighting, and you're our hero." Many people in the crowd were crying as they watched the balloons disappear into the distance, moved by the opportunity to bring joy to a child they had never met, but who had touched their hearts through Steve's simple request. Steve stayed with Emma for over an hour, talking with her about her balloon dreams and her hopes for the future. Emma told Steve that seeing so many people come together for her made her feel like the balloons she had loved all along, lifted up by something bigger than herself. "Mr. Harvey, do you think all those wishes will really come true?" "Emma, I think those wishes already came true. Look how many people love you and are rooting for you to get better. That's the most powerful magic in the world." The balloon release became a turning point in Emma's treatment and recovery. The nurses reported that she had more energy and optimism following the event, and her response to subsequent chemotherapy treatments improved significantly. 3 months later, Emma was declared to be in remission, and she returned to Steve's show with her mother to share the good news. "Emma, how are you feeling?" Steve asked, as the healthy, vibrant little girl sat beside him on the show. "I feel great. My hair is growing back, and I get to go to school again, and I don't have to stay in the hospital anymore." Do you remember the day when hundreds of people came to the hospital with balloons for you? Emma's face lit up with the biggest smile. "That was the best day ever. I still have pictures of all the balloons flying up to the sky. I think that's when I started getting better, because I knew so many people were sending me good wishes." What do you want to say to all the people who came that day? Thank you for bringing me balloons and for caring about me even though you didn't know me. You made me feel like the most special girl in the world. Steve announced during the show that the balloon release had inspired the creation of the Emma's Wishes program at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, where volunteers regularly organize special events to bring joy to young cancer patients. What started as one little girl's love for balloons became a reminder that small gestures can have huge impacts, Steve explained to his audience. Emma taught us that hope can be as simple as a colorful balloon, and that community can be as easy as showing up when someone needs joy. The original balloon release was recorded by many participants, and videos of the event went viral on social media, inspiring similar gatherings at children's hospitals across the country. Today, Emma Thompson is a healthy 10-year-old who volunteers with the Emma's Wishes program, helping to organize balloon releases and special events for other children fighting cancer. "I want other kids to feel the same happiness I felt that day," Emma says. "When you're sick and scared, knowing that people care about you can make you feel strong enough to keep fighting." Steve keeps a photo from that Saturday afternoon on his office wall, not of himself or the crowd, but of Emma's face pressed against her hospital window, eyes wide with wonder as she watched hundreds of balloons carrying wishes for her recovery float into the sky. "Emma's Balloon Day reminded me that television is just a tool," Steve often reflects. "What matters is how you use that tool to connect people and create moments of joy for those who need it most." The story of Emma's balloons proves that sometimes the most powerful community actions start with the simplest requests, and that when people come together to bring joy to a child in need, they create magic that heals not just the child, but everyone who participates in the miracle. If this beautiful story of community coming together to bring joy to a cancer-fighting child moved you, please subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. Share this video with someone who needs to see the power of simple gestures and community compassion. Have you ever participated in a community effort to help a child in need, or witnessed how small acts of kindness can create big moments of joy? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to ring that notification bell for more amazing stories about the beautiful things that happen when people choose to show up for children who need to know they're loved and supported.